Sorry, you guys, that's funny. The neighbor. The things that you don't realize will happen. I was on a podcast interview the other day, and I saw these three men walking toward my house with, books and Bibles in hand, and I was like, "Oh, they're going to come ring my doorbell right now." And I hate being rude to people. Okay, so my goal is that the summer doesn't slam us, and that there is space for all these things, and that it's more to do with how we come at our time. And the thing that I found as somebody who's apparently, I've recently realized, been obsessed with time and calendars for a lot longer than I care to admit, like I was making them at age 9 years old for friends and family, is that a lot of times what we do is we start with that surface stuff. We start with that to-do list. And a lot of times a to-do list is like all the things that are coming at us, right? So it's the things we have to sign for our kids at school. It's the supplies that they need for camp. It's the people who are emailing us about our work that we need to get back to. It's like all these things that are coming at us, the many meals we have to cook in a day. And they're things that we have to do, but a lot of times we do them at the cost of the things that would really feed us. And so what I find is as we start to figure out how to balance all these things, days become so much easier. And so the flow planner, which I alluded to, because there's a couple people here who have it. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. There's no more questions. There's a couple people here who have it. Is really getting to how we get through a day. But what I wanted to start with today was really thinking at a higher level, what the next 90 days are going to look like. Okay, that's great, Sue. It's definitely being recorded, so that's no problem. And I can't see who's coming on and off except who's in the I can see how many people are here, and I can see who's showing up in the chat. So no pressure if you guys have to hop on. I'm definitely recording this. There is, for those of you who can stay, there's something to doing the work live, just because you can, have access to me and ask questions, but no pressure whatsoever. And it is my what you guys know because you signed, it's my birthday today, so there's no place I would rather be over lunch break than talking schedule and imagining my own as well, and really serving this community because I love you guys. So back to the 90 days. So what I find is when we start to really figure out like how we want to be, how we want to show up, how we want to feel, what our values are, and we start from there, then as we get thrown all these other things our way, we can start to prioritize what our days look like. But without that, we're really in reactionary mode, and everything feels harder. So we might know, like in our heart, that we want to eat well, or we want to exercise, or we want to be really good parents, but we get bombarded by all these details, and then at the end of the day, we're yelling at our kids, we're not feeling great about dinner. And you guys know the drill because we've all experienced it, including myself. But I find that when I get this higher level plan into place, and always refer back to it, always know that what I decided at the beginning of 90 days that I really want, that I really want to start that business as Heather's starting, or I really want to have, I want time for myself in the summer, whatever it looks like. And it might look a little bit different it will look a little bit different for everybody. When I start to reflect back on that, I can start making choices. So, if I'm trying to get work done, and this isn't a true story because I love my mother-in-law, but I know I hear a lot of times that people are annoyed by their mother-in-law, so I'm using that example. But say my mother-in-law invites us for a week and I'm dreading it, but on my list is to write a book or start a business, and I just need some space to imagine, what that's going to look like. And I can't because I have kids home from camp and whatnot. So going to that house, even though it's not the perfect thing, it would get childcare taken care of, then I would go. But if going meant actually more work because my mother-in-law doesn't help with the kids, or she doesn't it's not meals getting cooked, or it's not a financial burden lifted off me, or whatever it is that I'm dealing with in that moment, then I might say no because it's simpler to be at home. Does that make sense? So really having a clear idea of what it is that you want, both for yourself and for your family. But right now we're really going to focus on ourselves. Yesterday I met a couple who was going to do the flow planner together, and I asked them to please tell me how that went, because I meant for it to be more individual. So I'm hoping that works. So I'm just looking down, sorry, at the planner, because basically what I gave you was the beginning of it. So we always start, well, you know what I want to do, you guys? Before we start and dive in, let's just take a moment of just silence. And if everyone can just close their eyes if you're not driving, and just take 3 super deep, nourishing breaths. So start by breathing in through your nose and follow the breath all the way through your face, down your body, and into your gut so that you can feel your stomach expand. And try to make that to a count of 3. And then just as slowly as you inhaled, or maybe even a little bit longer, exhale that breath. And do that 3 times so that you can just start off centered. I'm going to do it too. All right. That's all it takes sometimes, you guys. Just saying. There's a tool for you that you can use all summer long. 3 breaths. Um, People say it all the time on the podcast, and I say it a lot, and I just feel like even I discard it when I hear it, but it's really powerful. So I want you to think about what you want the next 90 days to feel like. Like, what do you want this summer season to feel like? Do you want it to feel healthy? Do you want it to feel fun? Um, do you want it to feel childlike? Like, how do you want to feel? Do you want to feel like you've accomplished something if you're starting work? And the thing that I find is a lot of times we'll say, and you guys can be writing while I'm talking, and if I'm annoying, just mute me. And I will get quiet at some point, but I know that you can start to write and that you're going to finish after we get off. So a lot of times we, say we want to do something like, I don't know, 2 years ago, I said, I want to write a book. And I tried to start it at a time when what I really wanted to do was connect with my kids. And I can tell you that in order to write the book, I had to go away. Like I had to leave. I had to physically leave our house for, 2 separate weeks at a time. And so that I always fought that. And so eventually I leaned into just the mom role that I was craving. And once I got through like that little season, not that that ever ends, but then I got into another season where I truly wanted to write the book. And like that was pulling me stronger than wanting to be at every single thing that happened at school. So I could miss a week and it would be okay. Does that make sense? And I think that can really happen in the summer. So I know that a couple of you guys are trying to start businesses or change careers, figure out what the next thing is. And when you're trying to figure out what the next thing is, you need space. And it's funny because I actually see 3 people who've commented and 1 person I know who's here and hasn't commented, who are in the middle of a lot of big changes. And big changes need space. And when we're mothers and cooking and cleaning and taking care of everybody else, sometimes space is a hard thing to create. And so we really have to do that meaningfully. So I want you to be really honest about how you want to feel, because we'll get to the stuff about creating your business. And I'm not saying you can't, like, obviously, if you want to feel relaxed and having fun and whatever, but you also need to make money, it's not like you're going to stop doing your business. That's not what I'm saying. But I want you to start with how you want to feel. And then what I want you to do is I want you to write down, what does that look like? So what is, if you say you want to have, and I'm just thinking like stereotypical summer, and it's funny because that's never actually how I want to feel. Usually what I want to feel in the summer is really healthy. Like I have this desire to, coming out of a New England winter is really just get healthy and moving and outside, and eat well. And so, what does being healthy, what does that look like to me? Does it mean that I have time to garden? Does it mean that I exercise daily? Um, does it mean that I'm doing active things with the kids versus sitting things with the kids? What does it look like to feel that way? If anyone needs help with any of these, put that in the chat, and I'm here to like coach you through getting stuck. But I want you guys to write this down. I don't want this to live in your head. That's really important. I know I'm talking, and if you need me to shut up and 3 people tell me that, I will be quiet and let you guys write. But I want you to, I really, really want you to write down as much as you can while we're on this call, because that really helps start to shift how we behave. And thank you for all the happy birthdays. And then lastly, I want you guys to think about like why this is important. So I keep using the same examples. If somebody wants to give me their example, I'm happy to do it. Okay, what about if I want to feel in control? We have so much going on in a good way, but I think it may be too much. Okay, so you want to write down that you want to feel in control because you're going to map back to that, right? So as things get too much, you're going to figure out how you can feel more in control of that. And a lot of times, to be honest, planning can help with that feeling. So what you're doing right now can actually feel with control. It's funny. Oh, good. I'm glad we have 2 controls. And lots of times, like really writing down is sometimes enough to feel control. A lot of times out of control. Oh, good. There's 3 people. A lot of times out of control is um, just that there's so much living in our head. And so just the act of writing helps with the control. Sometimes it's a scheduling issue. A lot of times, and this is what was so brilliantly described yesterday when I was interviewing this amazing woman on the podcast. And a lot of times what happens is we write these long to-do lists. And this happens a lot. I hear a lot of people when we're talking food that like we want to be home for family dinner or we want to learn how to cook food from scratch. But we're making this to-do list of all the things we need to do to make that happen, but then we don't actually have time in our calendar, right? So it's like we say that we want to travel and play with our kids and do all these things in the summer, but then we're working full time. So there's actually not the time for that. And so we have to figure out like how do we really build in those bits in the time that we have? Does that make sense? So a lot of times the act of planning really helps with that sense of control. Okay, and we can keep, I know that like sometimes I do this in a way that, sorry, there's a weird thing happening on my computer. Sometimes I do this in a way that you guys can talk. So maybe we'll do another one soon where people can come in the way that I did it today. It's all in the chat. But feel free to like have a conversation because I'm seeing as they come in and I can respond to them. So does everyone have time to just at least start to jot down those 3 things? Okay, and what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to okay, so I actually, let me just quickly look. So I'm going to go quickly. I'm not going to go quickly, but I want to really honor everyone's time. So I'm trying to make this end by 1:30. I will stay on and talk and coach to anybody who wants to after that, but I'm going to, wrap it up so that everybody can leave. Okay, I'm seeing one more comment and then I'm gonna move on. I can't seem to prioritize or really know how much time things really take. So I schedule, but it's 40 things in a place where actually 2 things are achievable. I want less control and more surrender. Okay, so that's such a good point. So and I'm actually, when you guys say control, the 3 people who said control, to me that's more like less chaos. And I don't know if that's feels true to you. Because I think we can't control, obviously we can't go. The only thing we can control is we can control how we show up. So for example, we did those 3 breaths, and that helps us control how we're showing up to this hour. Oh, I like that, focus versus control. That's good. And I love surrender, Beth. I love that word. And part of why I created the planner, and we're not getting into the day view today, but when you get into looking at a day, what I have people do is take the full list that we're going to create some of today and actually put them in to times, um, in the day. Like, so you're actually planning in advance, like, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours this morning getting work done. And then we're going to have a healthy lunch together for an hour. And then we're going to go do a fun activity for 2 hours. And then I'm going to come back and do some work. This is like kind of what my summer days look like when kids aren't in camp. And I actually find in the end, it's much easier to get work done when I have kids home. I know that sounds bizarre, but just because the driving and shuffling and transitions of other things feel harder to me. So I do feel like it's possible to have kids home in the summer and get work done. I experienced it for a whole year last year. I was more productive last year on a year on the road than I ever have been. But so one of the tools, Beth, I'm just going to quickly answer this question, is starting to put what needs to get done in time slots. And you guys, when I say, I tell everybody they need to schedule every second of their day. But when I say that, it's not with busy stuff. It's not like I think every second of every day you should be cooking and cleaning and working and exercising. I also think you should be scheduling in a nap and meditation and just putting your feet up and not being at blocks where you're not able to plan anything. Like, the rule is everyone's home. So when I say we should schedule every moment, it's not that I want you to be busy. It's that I want you to be really intentional with your time. And so, Beth, one of the tools I use, and I'm just going to actually hold this up. I don't know if we can see it, but this is like the breakdown of a day in the Flow Planner. And what I do is I usually block out, like, I'll do a rectangle. I mean, you could do this in Google. You don't need the planner to do this. You could do this in any calendar, or sometimes I do it digitally in Google Calendar. And I'll like block out, like, this is my work time. Usually before I would have my meditation time. This is when I make breakfast and lunch. This is when I work. This might be when I go get the kids. But I only have it take up half. And then in the evening, what I go do is I go back and yes, it will be available as a replay. And it's okay. I will send out the recording. So don't worry if you can't stay. So what I do is I go back and I put in the other column, like what actually happened. I try to be not judgy. So I'm basically planning and then tracking my time at the end of the day. And this sounds like so control-y. And I know you're trying to surrender, but somehow that helps me learn. And it helps me realize that it's much better to get like those 2 things I say I'm going to get done and feel really good about it. And it's just been a process of learning. So I don't know if that resonates at all with you, but that's been really helpful for me. Less clutter in my mind and physical space. Focus works. I think I missed something. I relax in the summer with some sort of predictable schedule to fall back on. I've been setting a schedule of some kind, which makes me feel relaxed. Sounds. So this is what I'm saying. So what Kristen just said is what I'm saying. Sometimes the planning process allows us to relax more into the situation, if that makes any sense. Fewer things on the schedule is definitely more realistic, but the idea of, instead of a checklist, putting it into time, I think is also really helpful. And then learning from your time and just understanding that this whole thing, the reason I do 90 days is because this whole thing is a learning process. It's just part of a journey. And the lesson for me has been like how much more in control of what I do in a day, like how much more control I have over my choice of what I do in a day than what I thought I had, right? So like it started off with food, like I just let in, 9 years ago, I let in whatever came in and I felt awful. And it happens, I feel like parenting is like a check and balance every day, right? Like it's like setting boundaries, seeing what happens, setting boundaries, seeing what happens when you have more people in the mix. That's what happens. Oh my God, I love that somebody's on the beach. We are still in school, I have to admit, for 4 more weeks, I think, 3 more weeks. So some of you guys I know are already in summer. which is great. All right, so now we're going to go back to where we were. So we've sort of discussed why, how we want to feel and why we want to feel that way. And then eventually what I want you guys to do, maybe after we're done, is I want you to go through and I want you to really think through the 4 categories of the flow planner as they refer back to those things that you just put down. And I want you to really think about, so if you're starting a company this summer or trying to up your business, your to-do list might be all about work. If you're, staying at home with the kids, your list might be all about activities. And if you're a stay-at-home mom and you don't work at all, the work column can always be about just like things that you want for yourself, places you want to volunteer, those things that really fall out of, parenting and kids, because I feel like we all have them and you can definitely act on those things even if you don't have a paying job. But I really want you to think through, like, what are your food and wellness goals? Like, what does that look like as it reflects back to ease? So, like, a lot of times we want control, but then we get ice cream every night. Well, I can tell you that an influx of sugar on 3 kids, I'm talking about my 3 kids who are 9, 12, and 14, like, I have no control over anything that happens 2 hours if they ate an ice cream, 2 hours after an ice cream cone, right? So it's like, how do we start to make these choices and realize all these different things that go into time? Does that make sense? And then same with life goals, and then spirituality goals, which I've called because that made flow work, and work goals. So, and when we're thinking through what these goals are, I want you guys to go through and really focus on, like, why is this goal important to you? And reflect back to how you want to feel, right? Like, when in doubt, always reflect back. And then what are some obstacles? So those are super easy for us to think about because we're busy and we have kids and we have all this stuff going on. And how can you turn these obstacles around, which is really important, because if you actually are doing this in a planning process, you start to think creatively about, okay, I really want to get work done, but I have 3 kids home. So, how can that not be an obstacle? How can that help me? Maybe if you're sending off stuff, they can pack envelopes. Maybe if you need to make a video, they can make a video for you, or maybe you need to have projects and that they actually learn to play by themselves, and that's what you're giving them during that time. Does that make sense? So it doesn't always have to be communal. Like, there's times when you need to be by yourself. But how can you really turn that around? Maybe it's that you've always needed to hire a sitter sometime for a while, like that's been on your to-do list, and so you actually use this moment to, like, get somebody in your house, or you trade with another mom if it's not in the budget to hire a sitter. And like, that actually not only gives you time to get your work done, but you can also get in a 15 minutes of exercise. So you're like hitting 2 things with one change. Does that make sense? Okay. And then, very important for each of those goals that you create is, where can you find support? So I'm always here if you need me. And part of my birthday present to myself, because I've missed it, is that I'm re-engaging back over on the Facebook group. And I will send that, actually, I would go look for it right now, but that will take me out of getting through this content. So I will send that out in an email group if you guys aren't in it. But it's really helpful. Like, there's 20 people here listening to this who all want to do great things this summer. 4 of you want more control. So right there you have, like, built-in support. I'm sure you have friends. Sometimes, oddly enough, those closest to us may not be our best supporters as we're doing this stuff. As we feel more in control of our time, I find that the people close to us come more in. But just to tell you, like, that's totally normal. It's totally fine. You're going to do fine because you have all this whole other tribe that you're going to create that's going to support you for this. So where can you find support? And logistically, that would be something like the babysitter. That could be something like the babysitter. It could be more like this, of getting people to help you when you come up against something and you just need people to grapple with. If you have a food thing, like, do you need to learn how to cook something? Do you need a meal planning service? Do you need to actually spend time in your cookbooks? Like that would be support because you already own them, but you just need to schedule a half hour to look at them. Like, what is it that you need to get these things done? And what I find is that we have so many resources at our disposal. And where those get really overwhelming and turn into the 40 things that we need to do a day is when we are not planning for them. So if I know that I want to like up my salad repertoire this summer because my goal is to feel really healthy, and I know that salads make me feel healthy and I'm bored of the one I make. And I know that I have, 50 cookbooks sitting over there. And I know that like somebody in my life makes amazing salads. So I have all these different things that I could lean on to learn how to do better. But I would never think of that in the moment of lunch, right? I would never think of that. I would never open the cookbook. I would never call my friend who makes great salads. I would never, sometimes one of my favorite strategies for salads, by the way, is going to like look at a good restaurant. I probably wouldn't give myself the time or the budget to go to that restaurant to look at how they made salads. I would never do that in the moment, but sitting here planning, I would put that down and then I would be more likely to go do it. Does that make sense? So that's where there's like so much magic in the planning. Like we're not really good in reaction mode as human beings, but we're pretty good at dreaming and creatively thinking if we give ourselves space to do it. And then this is the most important one for us. I know it is, how can I forgive myself and find support when things get in the way of my success? Because this is just like a fact of life. So maybe it's that you have got the kids in camp for a week and you finally have time I love that there's a big difference in your week when you don't plan ahead. I mean, so a lot of times, we'll plan this day where maybe it's the day we can take care of ourselves finally. And we're going to the dentist and we're going to go on that walk, and it's cool because it's summer and maybe our spouse can stay home late in the morning, which is making this possible. And the fridge is full of great stuff. And then we're looking forward to doing something with our kids in the afternoon, and we're traveling. And then someone throws up. Right? Like this is just going to happen. And it's so easy to like blame ourselves. Like, oh my God, I went to that place and he touched that thing and that's why he's throwing up. Or, I knew he shouldn't have eaten that thing. Like whatever it is, like we can just play this blame game, and it's hard to get out of that in the moment. Again, like all of this is hard to get out in the moment, but when we actually think about it and put it down on paper. And I'm just reading from these sheets, you guys, like this is just in the flow planner, but I'm reading from the sheets that I gave you. And then so that makes this all a little bit different, those questions that I just asked you. And then the next is just like what normal planning practices, right? So just pinpointing 3 actions that can get you closer to your goal and make them doable. If what you're doing is, there's 2 people who I know are changing careers or starting businesses. So, don't put on there, write a book, make a website. I don't know what the other thing would be, but like the huge things that really would take a whole summer to do one, like don't do that. Have a marketing plan. Marketing plans are good. You could do that. That doesn't have to be so complicated. I like that. So what are those things that you can put on that like you can actually do? So maybe your work goal for the summer is a marketing plan, right? And so your 3 things are, develop what that looks like for social media, like figure out 10 places to speak in the fall, and I don't know, spend a week writing 12 blog posts. I'm making that up. That's not your marketing plan, Jen, but but you see what I mean, right? So make them doable, like figure out, it could work, who knows? But the reason I shared that example is because what I would do, what I actually have done, what's happening this summer is that I created a week where I was kid free, and I'm actually doing that. I actually am writing like a whole bunch of stuff in that week. And I find, and then I'm cleared, like then I've cleared out this stuff, and then I can go, if my object is to have fun, then the next week we go on vacation and I can actually be there. I can actually be present, because otherwise I haven't written anything down. I don't really know what I want. And it's just like pulling at me the whole time. Does this make sense? All right. So what I want to do, and you guys definitely ask questions if you want. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Kid Free Week to Write. It's really good. Oh, you have two of those. Oh, you have two Kid Free Weeks. You should take one for yourself too, I think. But I think it's really powerful. Well, it was an amazing practice for me in that year that I actually it was before the year I homeschooled the kids, but I started the year before to write the book. And I did that. I cleared some time where I just went and I stayed when my mother-in-law was out of town. I went and stayed in her apartment alone. And it's amazing what you can get done when you don't have to do all the things that we do in a day, and you can just give yourself the creative space. And so I don't by any means want you to feel every time you're alone with work, but if you need to get work done, I find it's very efficient to work for a week straight, and then, be able to do the other stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly share my screen, and I'm actually going to go away for a sec from the sheets that I thought I was going to be sharing the whole time and go over to this document that I put the link up. It's the one that's called Summer, so you guys can click on it and just download it so you can fill it in after. But I just want to share really quick what it is. Can you guys see now? I can't see the chat anymore. Let me see. Is it the Q&A? No. Okay. Now I have the chat up. Can you guys see the sheet that says summer plans? Okay, great. So I love creating these sheets like with my family. I do this every summer, and it's funny. On my to-do list was to redesign these because this is kind of an old one. But it's really helpful, so you can make this look however you want yourself. Maybe I'll send out a revised version in a couple weeks. But somebody was asking about things to do that weren't media. So again, it's that thing of like planning and thinking of these things in advance so that when it rains, you're not like, shit, what are we going? Oh, I hope no one's kids are listening. Sorry. I didn't mean to curse. Or shoot, what are we going to do today? And it's hard because it's hard to think of things in the moment. So, and this is something that at this point I do with my kids. I used to do it without my kids before they were as old as they are now. So I feel like, after 9 years old, like, and even before, if it's just the way your family works, like, what does this look like? And you'll see that there's some that are more worth getting input than others. But rainy day activities, like, what does everyone want to do? So one year I set a timer on Google, and I spent an hour looking because I got really overwhelmed with the question I had asked everybody in my community, which was, what can you do on a rainy day? And I was like, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what we would do here. We usually just stay home. So it's like, that's an option, right? A board game day. Like, you could stay home and play board games on a rainy day. But a lot of times we're needing to get out. So I just did a Google search, and it's like, okay, what can we do? And I found this like chocolate factory that had a vegan chocolate, which I have a daughter who can't eat dairy, so that was important. And you could go tour it and you could learn about chocolate. And I was like, that sounds so cool. And I wouldn't have ever known about that if I hadn't have spent this time. And then, like, what are sunny days activities? What beaches do I want to go to? What ponds can I swim in? Because what I find, it's the same with food. But a lot of times when we're overwhelmed with like how to change our diet, it's like, oh, I only know how to cook like 4 things and the kids only like 1 thing. Well, the truth is that you know a lot more, but in the moment of cooking, you can't think of those. So a lot of times it's just about getting everything out of your head, or like your repertoire isn't as healthy as you want it to be. So even getting everything out of your head and figuring out like what you'll make healthy next, it's just really helpful to get everything out of our heads. That part I can't stress enough. And actually the summer, just FYI, if you do have downtime and you're on a camping trip or going to the beach or whatever, I carry around a notebook so I can really be pouring everything out of my head. Yes, that's what I did. I just literally, I don't know what I did. I think what I do, usually what I do is I start on Facebook and I ask people for ideas of what they can do on rainy days. And you guys, we can do that here. If anybody has great ideas that aren't area specific, put things down. Like that's great. Like museums, tours of factories. You can, go to, sometimes it's as easy as getting out to a friend's house, driving to the next town to a museum that you normally wouldn't drive to. A lot of times, if it's raining and I'm needing to get work done, now that my kids are older, we'll go to the library and I'll get everybody a book. Sometimes I'll actually work while we're at the library, and then we'll go to a cafe and they'll read their books while I work. Like there's just ways that you can make it, fun. But yes, basically I searched like indoor summer activities or something, and I just like kept going and going and going. I also always send things out. My kids' classes have lists, so I'll send things out, and it's super surprising to me. But people love that, and then everybody responds, and everybody's gaining from everybody else's thing. So it's a great conversation to start within your class. The reading programs that Barnes and Nobles or the library offer are great. Yeah, and I love our bank one year gave a checklist where the kids, if they read 10 books, got $10 at the end of the year. And I was like, or at the end of the summer, I was like, that's so cool. Sunny day activities, so same thing. Cloudy day activities, it's like, what are these things that I can never remember I want to do? Because what I want you guys to get in the habit of is like, how you want to feel. You have these big goals that you want to do. And then what we're not going to get in today, but I might do a follow-up thing on if everyone's interested, is then what does that look like on a weekly and daily basis? So what I love doing is like time blocking. Like, so I know that in the summer is a little hard because weeks change. So I have a school year time block thing where I know like every day the kids are in school from 8 to 2:30 or 3, depending on the child. And that's like my work time. And I know that my husband takes them to school in the morning. So if I want to exercise, I can wake up early and go. So the summer throws that off because sometimes the kids are home, sometimes we're traveling, sometimes they're traveling, sometimes they're in camp. And so it's a little bit different. So every week I'm like, I block out like, what times do I have to work every Sunday night? It's like, okay, I can work this. These times actually the kids are gone. These times I might be with kids. So how can I fill in this stuff and know that they'll entertain themselves or they can go to a friend's? Does that make sense? So trips, food, new rituals you want to learn, and then just because it's summer. So I just want to talk about food and new rituals. So the summer is such a great time to start things and to get habits under your belts, because I think it's just because the days are longer, like we feel like there's more time. We're definitely more relaxed just naturally. And so what does that look like? Do I want do I want us to be a salad loving family? Do I want to figure out, I told you guys, like I want to get really good at making lots of different salads that the kids will eat. Like my kids love salad, but like it's literally always romaine lettuce, cucumber, it's like the same things. And so, how do I really get them loving all the varieties that could be? Maybe, I was going to flip around my computer, but I'm not going to do it because I don't need to see it. But I have a vegetable garden outside, and I'm trying a new way to grow vegetables this summer. So along with the vegetable garden. So it's like, those are all food things. I want to join a farm share. So I want to really learn how to cook well by the things that are just coming in season. And, maybe one of our goals is to have a week where we only eat that food and no other stuff, so it's like, how do we let our kids fill it out? Yeah, and it is so fun to fill it out with your kids, because then this is almost like an agreement, right? So Jennifer said she was going to fill it out with her 3 tween and teenage kids, and it's so good because if you come up with it together, then it's really clear that you're thinking about work stuff, but you're also thinking about their fun stuff, and you want to make this more holistic approach. And it's like you're creating this agreement so that when it rains, you're like, look, I need to get these 3 hours of house stuff done or cooking stuff done or work stuff done. And then we're going to go find our list and we're going to do this stuff. And the other thing that I want to say about all this is that I don't like one of the reasons that I think planning is so crucial and why it's so fun to do it this time of year is because I definitely in the past have had a summer where everybody got out of school and finished their thing, and it just like it's so busy right now here. I know some of you guys are on summer, but I'm still in the so busy phase where it's like there's a recital every day and something, and it's just like boom, 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 boom. And yesterday I was at school all day helping the eighth graders with their yearbooks, and it's so great. But I also have this work that I want to do, and I want to get the planners out and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just busy, and then all of a sudden there's nothing. All of a sudden it's summer, and it just takes a minute to like get into that, and then you have these trips you plan. And anyway, it's so easy for the end of summer to come, and then you get those annoying questions when you go back to school of how was your summer, and you just want to smile and say great, but you don't really believe it because you didn't really do exactly what you wanted. So this is helping to frame that. So when you get asked that question, you don't even need to go into the details, but you feel like it was so great because I took care of myself and I ate well, and we have these new family rituals that really work, and maybe those are around bedtime or exercise or who's helping in the kitchen when, so that by the time the school year happens, you're more supported and somebody's putting all the dishes in the dishwasher every night after dinner. Does that make sense? All right. Okay, so then the next sheet is for you. So this one was family. See how it says like little? And these are all things that have to do with the whole family. And then the second sheet is you, because I really think that this is one of the places where we can go silly in our lives as moms, is that we forget how important we are. And a lot of times I feel like when the word self-care gets thrown out there, it has more to do with getting a manicure or pedicure or hair done. And I don't at all want, like, that's cool. Like, I love that. It's my birthday, and I'm found a Groupon to go get my feet rubbed for $20 this afternoon, and I'm so excited. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the things that we really want to actually model for our kids, right? So what books do you want to read this summer? And I can promise you that if you spend time just like sitting and relaxing. It's a sunny day, like if on that first list, sunny day activity or rainy day activity, maybe rainy day is reading on the couch, sunny day is going to the beach and sitting out and reading a book. If you get your books read too, you're going to feel so much better, and your kids are going to watch you, and then they're going to want to read. I feel very lucky to have voracious readers, but I wasn't one. And I just feel like if we model that, I love this list is shorter than the books list. That's funny. Okay. Self-care rituals. Like, what could those look like for you? Like, a self-care ritual is what we did at the beginning of this call. We took 3 deep breaths. Like, this does not have to be complicated. Maybe you start making a smoothie every morning, and this is such a good time to get into that habit because there's all this fresh produce. And if you're getting that farm share, you don't want it to go bad, so you throw it into the blender. That kind of thing. Does that make sense? Do you have any food goals? So up here we had kid food things. This is more for you. Like, what's going on with you? Is there anything that the extra time, the extra length of a day, the less stress of the summer would help you reach, like, things you've been wanting to do for a while? Does that make sense? Okay. Same with work, and notice that it's summer and the work things are less. You can add more if you want, but what do you want to get done around the house? So the summer's also a great time because the days are longer, and we have a different kind of energy. Like, is there projects that you want to get done and it's warmer and whatever, hopefully sunnier? What can you get done around the house? And then what do you want to do for you for fun? Somebody was saying that they had some time and the kids were going away and they didn't know what to do with it the other day. And I was just listing all the things that are on my fun list because I've written it, not because I intrinsically know how to have fun, because I actually am not good at that. But I have this list, so I know that when I have free time, this is what I can go do. So I really want you to put that in so that you can be having fun too, especially if like joy and all that was part of how you want to feel for the summer. I love that you love this, Sean. That's awesome. Okay, so things that can wait until late August. You guys, please hear me on this. Like, this is really important. Full days of shopping for backpacks in July. I know it's fun. I know we get all those sale things, but it's not necessarily necessary. So, how can we really live in this time? Like, how can we really live in this 90-day season? And that's why, oh, now I'm seeing, I don't know if you guys can still see me, but I'm gonna hold up the flow planner again. But that's why those sheets that I gave you are really focusing on what you want to create, because the other stuff can wait. And I want you to be really cognizant about what 5 things sometimes slip into your summer that can really wait. And maybe it's a work thing. Maybe it's like that, maybe you're starting your own thing and you know that you need a website and to file the business and yada, yada, yada. But maybe really all you need is to have 5 clients. And so all that other stuff can wait and you can put that on your August list. Does that make sense? Maybe it's about ordering stuff. Maybe you always get sucked into the frenzy of like getting everything in order for school when, you're not going to miss out if it's a little bit later. Does that make sense? Okay. Oh, I like that you like that, Symphony. I love your name, by the way. Okay. And then the last sheet is actually blank. So this is what I was thinking. So up here is kind of like we have a family meeting, we write it down. This in my case, like, because I have I have a teenager and I have a 9-year-old and then I have someone in the middle, like everyone's actually into kind of different things right now. And so this is a place where we put it all down together. And I should have said that at the beginning, but now that you've seen all of them, I think that will make more sense. So it's like, these are the things that, like, I want to sit down at the dinner table one night and it's like rainy day activities, and one says I want to jump on the trampoline and the other one says but I'm hurt right now and I can't jump on a trampoline, and we know as a family that that's not the thing we're going to do on a rainy day, because I can guarantee you that if we don't do that planning together in advance, then the rainy day is going to happen. The child's going to want to go to the trampoline park, the other one can't because his knee is hurt, and we're going to fight. But we don't need to fight because we can just sit down outside of the rainy day on a beautiful sunny day, or at the dinner table or whatever, and we can figure all these things out together and make those compromises before we have to make them in real time. Does that make sense? And that's why the trip part is more powerful here too, because maybe you want to go camping and your kids don't want to go camping, but you're going to put that here because then there's going to be another weekend where you're going to go to the amusement park and your kids really want to do that. Does that make sense? So this is like the we agreed part. This is the you part. And then if you have older kids, this is a sheet where I just left it blank so they could fill in their name. And then it's, similar to the one for you, except this was made more for a kid. So it's books they can read. I know their list might be longer, but I love 5s. Activities that are for me. So this could be activities that they do while you're working or while you're doing something that you want to do, a project you want to do around the house. I'm going to get our photos in order this summer. I'm super excited. And I put that on the rainy day list, that mama's going to do photos sometimes if it's a rainy day, because it's going to benefit everybody if I can organize that part of our life, because I haven't done that in many years and it's getting out of control. And so they're going to have this list of activities for them. And it's like, maybe my daughter really wants to paint, and she's going to know that that's just her activity, and that when everybody else is busy and no one wants to pay attention to her, no one's bringing her anything, she can paint because it's on this list. And by the way, I clear off the side of the fridge and we put up all our lists. So it's pretty, like, it's a clear agreement that we're all making for the summer. All right, projects that I want to work on. Again, this is for that specific child. Activities with my family. So if you have a tween or a teen and you're starting to get the child who doesn't always want to be with you at every second, or doesn't always want to be with the family at every second, this is a great way, right? My 6-year doing anything, my 14-year-old really needs to fill this out. Yeah, so you can totally do this child specific. That's so true, Betty, because the 6-year-old probably wouldn't do this part, and you could make a special one for your 6-year-old, because I know that my 9-year-old always likes to be included. And so maybe it's just like a list of fun things that they get to do, or like this part around the house, like maybe your 6-year-old would love the, and I say under 9 actually, because that's just what I've learned in my the parent psychology. I've studied a lot with Kim John Payne, who wrote the book Simplicity Parenting, and he talks a lot about before 9, the child really needing guidance from parents. And so I've sort of parented that way. Everybody has their own way, of course, but so whatever that age is for you, like I used to make for my 9-year-old a little checklist so that she felt included in the situation. Because I really wanted them to help. I wanted them to set the table, and actually it's funny because my youngest wanted to do more than anybody else always. So what do those things look like? So for a teen, this part is really powerful too. Activities with my family, what I'm doing around the house, healthy habits I want to practice. So you're really empowering them to do things, to help, to be part of this whole. And they get to start to see how the fun and life and all this works together. So you're actually teaching them the principles that then you're practicing in the book that you filled out at the beginning. All right. Does this all make sense, you guys? I hope so. Anyway, so you can download these sheets. Again, I'll send them out again in email after. I'm going to not make myself go down the hole of redesigning them too much, but I'll send them out and then you guys can put them on the thing. Okay, I'm going to end the screen share and come back on. How do I do that? Okay, here we go. Oh, wait, that's not what I meant to do. Let's see if I can figure this out. Sorry, you guys. I don't want to stop video. Just want to not have the screen share anymore. Oh, stop share. Okay, there I am. Not that I needed to be in this at all, but you guys don't need to look at paper the whole time. So does anyone have any questions? The other part that I could keep going into, but it's now 1:30, so I'm just going to touch on it briefly, is the last 3 pages that I sent you in the PDF. And by the way, the pages I sent you those are the beginning pages of the Flow Planner, which I know some of you guys have. We sold the first 300 very quickly, and the rest are on a boat that are supposed to come here in a couple of weeks. So I'll also let you know the second that those come. No, sorry, Symphony, you can't figure out where to buy it because I tried to take it down from everywhere because I didn't want anyone to buy it and me not be able to send it. So I will do that. I will do that probably, I'm hoping next week. It's supposed to be here on the next set is supposed to be here on Friday. So I'm knocking on wood and hoping that actually works out. So and you can buy a digital copy if that floats your boat. And I can send out that link in the follow-up to this talk. Sorry, this is stuck. The band is stuck on it. But basically, if I take the band off, it's like a gray book and it has a elastic over it, so you can stack them. So it's just a book. The digital version is for sale for $10, and any of them come with a course that takes you through all the different parts. And then I'll just be doing some live versions of them for free as well as we're going along. So in the last 3 pages I gave you, sorry, that was an aside, there's 2 pages to figure out your morning and your evening routine. So I find that morning and evening are really, really helpful in just sort of, a lot of times the morning routine, my morning routine is really helpful for me to set myself up to feel taken care of in a day. And I feel like myself, and then I've assigned my evening routine to really make my family feel taken care of, if that makes sense. That's just sort of how I've done it. It doesn't have to be that way at all. If you have young ones and they're waking you up, it might very much be the opposite. They're going to bed early. But recently I've switched that. I have kids now that stay up past me. So, the evening is more about them, the morning's more about me. And I find that the summer is an opportunity to sort of switch that up. In the school year, I'm doing a lot of like lunch packing and breakfast making and getting everybody out the door. And that energy is so different in the summer. I use the morning to sort of be alone. The kids sleep later. My husband can, nobody has to get anywhere on some weeks. And if camp does start, it usually starts a little later. So I use the morning. I feel so good on a summer morning because I'll go exercise. I meditate. I have more quiet time. Sometimes I read or listen to a podcast. Like, I love the summer, but I have to like re-engineer my head. So that's what this is about. This is the morning routine and the evening routine, and you have those in sheets. And I just find it's really helpful to go through and really think those 2 times out, because there are 2 times that we can sort of get that can start to feel out of control and feel much better in control. So even if the whole middle of the day is like crazy and you're like running around and, you know, going to this thing and going to that thing and traveling or whatever it looks like, I find that if the morning and the evening, if the day is bookmarked by these two moments, which feel nourishing and are mapping back to how I want to feel and I feel taken care of, or I feel like I'm giving what I wanted to give or set out to give in this case of my evening routine, it just feels really good. And so I highly recommend going through and filling this out. This is a whole other hour, I feel like. So if you guys are interested, I'll do another hour in coming weeks about the morning and evening ritual. And then I think I gave you guys 2 dot pages. Oh, please. Okay. All right. But you guys have to bring your friends, all right? So I'm willing to show up for free classes, but one of my goals is to reach as many mamas as possible. So the more you can help me spread the word, the better. That if you like what's going on, that makes me happy. And then the final thing is this, which is a contract to yourself. So once you go through and really fill this out, maybe it's after the kids go to bed, maybe it's early one morning, you know, whenever it is, once you go and fill it all out, it's really helpful to just make a contract with yourself. You know, what, like, how, what are you committing to? How are you going to, are you going to get all this done? How are you going to reward yourself? How are you going to reward your family when these things get done? Does that make sense? And it just gives you something to work toward, because so much of this, it's like, we wish someone was just telling us what to do, like when we were in school or when we were in our corporate job or whatever it was, and they're not. Like, this is all up to us. And what I hate is when I meet, like, it makes me sad when I meet people who, you know, are grandparents and just trying to figure out what it is that they want, because they haven't had time to like do all this with intention. So I think, oh, and in that list is figuring out 3 ways that you will show up to this every day, because you do have to, even if you don't commit to planning weekly and daily, which, you know, you might by the time I'm done with you, just even committing to rereading anything that you fill out in the sheets today is hugely impactful. So putting, you know, the initial packet I gave you, which is from the planner, you know, into a binder on your desk, by your bedside table, so you're just constantly really assessing how it is that you want to feel and whether that day made you feel that way. And if it didn't, not be judgy to yourself, but just learn from that. Like, today didn't go well because, you know, I drove too much, or somebody got sick and I didn't have the support I needed to do the things that I wanted to get done. So how can I change that? It just enables us to be detectives in this experiment, which is life, which makes it more fun. Otherwise, it's depressing. Okay. Okay, yes, please, a morning and evening ritual sharing session. Okay, I'm going to think about how I'm going to put that together, because next time I'm going to do it with more, I'm going to do it with more interaction, I think, because you guys are awesome and I would love to hear people talk. Although I do love weekly planning, I have a difficult time planning 90 days. I like the spaciousness of summer and being able to plan my own days. But then by the end of July, I do end up having fun. Planning goes out the window. It doesn't move forward. Yes. So I think that's, I mean, 90 days can be loose. Sometimes summer, like the 90-day plan for summer, is as simple as admitting that you really want summer. And what does that mean? And that the thing that you put off until August is thinking about your business again. Or that, you know, you commit to 3, I know what you do, Betty. So Betty makes these amazing, I'm going to say it wrong so you can put it in, but you make potions, right? You make essential oil potions. Am I right? Yes. So you're doing a lot of live shows. So maybe just getting, you know, 4 or 5 of those into your calendar, the farmers markets, whatever it is, and then aromatherapy products. Good. I was looking for that word and I didn't have it. Getting those into your calendar and then just being okay with that. And maybe you know that in the fall, you've learned from the past. In the fall, if you don't do anything in the summer, you're overwhelmed. So just spending, like, really, like, it can be this simple. One day you give yourself 2 hours at a cafe to figure out what needs to happen in the fall. And then some day in summer, you give yourselves 2 days to really, like, start to move that fall stuff forward. So maybe it's about writing, maybe it's about calling places that you want to show up with your product. Maybe it's about making time to make your product. Maybe it's about making flyers, so it can be really simple. Like, it doesn't have to take time. I know, Kathy, and I didn't completely get potions wrong, because I think that that's the name of your business, right, Betty? It's like Creative Potions. I think that's what it is. So I like potions too. All right, so poetic potions. There we go. By the way, everyone here who's in business that I know about their businesses does some quite amazing things. So I love that. And I hope to move more in the direction of really being able to support each other with our amazing things. So you can look for that. So Kathy asked the easiest way to share. So whenever I send out, I send out an email very purposefully with like this, but I only did an hour before. So anytime I send out an email, feel free to forward it. Anything on the Plan Simple Meals website gets people on the list, so then they're seeing it. And then I, on my list for pre-summer, sorry, for me, it doesn't start until a few days, is to get really clear about how to put things on Facebook on a consistent basis, because I have had to do a little bit of a media detox myself. And now I'm really wanting to re-engage. So I was getting a little disappointed with the business Facebook page because no one ever sees anything, and I was putting a lot of work into it. But what I'm really missing is the Facebook group. So look for that reactivating, and I will send that to you in a link, and then you can share that with whoever you want, of course. Okay, I think that's all I've got. Does anyone have questions? I feel like I didn't give you guys enough time to fill everything out, but I realized that that would be really boring if people have been chiming in and out this whole time. So I didn't want it to be, you guys know what to do now, I think, unless anyone has questions. I answered questions you didn't even know you needed. I like that. You're welcome, Sean. So I hope everyone has an amazing day. A lot of you guys on here know, because I've actually talked to 2 or 3 of you today, about, so with the Flow Planner, I am so excited and so happy to be talking about the calendaring part of all this, because my goal is to change the standard American diet and get us all eating better. And I do love teaching people how to cook, and I love talking food, but what I really find is like the thing I can talk about the best, because there's a lot of amazing food happening out there, is the scheduling part and how to just make the time and space to make food happen, to sit down for family dinner, to cook food, so I'm happy to talk about what it is I'm eating, but the time part is really, so I feel like that's at the bottom of everything. So the planner's coming out. It's for sure been a labor of love and a lot of learning, if you haven't heard that in my voice, because I've never imported a product before. I'm trained as a designer, so it was really fun to make something that looked cool and all that kind of stuff, but getting it from China has been interesting. So this year, and I'm in a month-long enrollment period, I'm looking for 40 women who want to spend the year planning, and not only planning, but just making what you want come true. And I find that a year is really necessary, or it was for me, because so much changes in a year. And so every part of the year is different. The summer is different than the fall, which is different than the holiday season, which is different than the winter, which is different than the spring. It's just all different. And so I'm dividing the year into these 90-day chunks. We're going to have planning retreats where we do this work without me talking the whole time, because they'll be longer. And we check in on a monthly basis and a weekly basis, and we have this group of 40 women who we can lean on and ask questions to, and explain what we're going to do today and what we didn't get done today, and celebrate the wins, complain about the things that didn't happen, although I hope there's not too much complaining. And I'm super, super excited for this group. So if you guys are interested, you can just reach out on email to me. I've been having conversations with people. There's some people who are here who are actually going to do it. And I'm just really excited for that. So if you know anyone who that sounds like it makes sense for, you don't have to be an entrepreneur at all, but I do want to spend time talking about the work piece too. So it's sort of food, lifestyle, spirituality, and work practices, and how all those fit together as we're, raising families and wanting to be healthy and all that kind of stuff. So that's what that is. It's officially called Flow 365. And now I'm realizing I have all these comments. Okay, marketing plan. Sounds good. Okay. All right. Yeah, there's always food involved. Okay. Wait, now I see that it's going. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you for the birthday wishes. All right, you guys, I think we're good. It's good to see someone walk through the process. You've got your planners but didn't look at them yet. That's good. All right. Well, now you have some content behind it. You also have a course, which so check your inbox. Okay. We're good. So bye, you guys. Have a fantastic, it's Wednesday. I keep saying Friday, but it's only Wednesday, which is a good thing for my week. I will send you guys a follow-up email with the things I said, but also feel free to reach out. Um, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day.